Saudi Arabia is set to host peace talks. The summit will be organized by Ukraine. President Volodymyr Zelensky's 10-point peace formula will be discussed. Russia is not invited. Who is invited then? Who all will be attending? What is on the agenda? And will the talks lead to any solution? Now, first things first, reports say the summit will take place on the 5th of August and the 6th of August in the city of Jeddah, August 5 and 6. Ukrainian officials say their peace plan would be discussed in 3 phases, leading up to a meeting of the heads of state and government. Invites have been sent out to some 30 countries. This includes the US, the UK, the EU, India, Brazil, Turkey, South Africa, Indonesia, Egypt, Mexico, Chile, Zambia, among others. Only the UK, South Africa, and Poland and the EU have confirmed attendance. The US National Security Advisor, Jake Sullivan, is also expected to be there. But more interest is around China. Will Beijing be attending the talks? It's not clear as of now. China has not ruled out the prospect, though. But it did sit out the previous peace talks in Copenhagen. China has also tried to broker peace in the war, remember, but President Xi Jinping's plan was biased towards his no-limits partner, Vladimir Putin. Talks in Saudi Arabia are going to be pro-Ukraine. As I said, Ukraine's peace formula will take the center stage, which is in fact less of a peace plan and more of a checklist of everything that Ukraine wants, basically. Restoration of its territory, withdrawal of the Russian troops, the release of all prisoners, a tribunal for those responsible for the aggression, and security guarantees for Ukraine. So, would China attend the talks? The summit is an opportunity for the West to make Kiev's case, to win more global support. Ukraine and Western officials hope that this leads to a peace summit later this year, where global leaders sign shared principles for resolving the war. This comes as the war appears to have reached a stalemate. Ukraine has not gained meaningful territory in recent months. If we just take a look at the map, this is what Ukraine has liberated in the last 2 months. 6 villages in the south of the Donetsk region, 1 on the Zaporizhia front, and a few more modest gains along the border. Yet, Kiev is burning weapons at a breakneck speed. The counteroffensive has become expensive for the West. When Ukraine and the West were busy hyping up the counteroffensive, Russia spent months fortifying the almost 1,000-kilometer front line across the territory that it occupied. And now Ukraine is having trouble penetrating the fortress. What is unclear is, what was Ukraine doing when Russia was disarrayed over the Wagner mutiny? Why did it not use that situation to its favor? Moscow was clearly under stress at that point, yet no significant gains were made by Ukraine. Ukraine could have amped up its counteroffensive. What was it waiting for? Earlier in July, President Zelensky was invited to the NATO summit in the Lithuanian capital. NATO members failed to give a timeline to get Ukraine into the bloc. Zelensky was not subtle in expressing his disappointment over the same. Remember, he openly slammed it as unprecedented and absurd. But what the NATO did offer was a prospect of long-term protection and security assurances. The G7 launched a framework for negotiations with Ukraine, and this is what US President Joe Biden had to say.
Today, the members of the G7 are launching a joint declaration of support for Ukraine to make it clear that our support will last long into the future. This starts a process by which each of our nations and any other nation who wishes to participate will negotiate long-term bilateral security commitments with and to Ukraine. We're going to help Ukraine build a strong, capable defense across land, air, and sea, from which will be a force of stability in the region and deter against any and all threats.
You see, President Biden made a clear statement that its support to Ukraine would last long into the future. The multilateral framework, he announced, would cover military and financial support, intelligence sharing, and also a promise of immediate steps if Russia should attack again. Zelensky called it a significant victory for Ukraine. This week, Kiev will start discussing the security assurances with the US. These guarantees will be in effect until Ukraine secures NATO membership.